Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing-related tweets. Let's talk about Tyson Fury's fight against Deontay Wilder. Listen, it was a terrific fight, full of drama, great skill set on display, had you on the edge of your seat. It was captivating because even when Tyson Fury was in complete control, you just know that Deontay Wilder's got that equalizing power. He would have that against any fighter in history. He would be an exciting fighter as a result against any fighter in history. But Deontay Wilder did not win more than 3 rounds in this fight. If you're related to Deontay Wilder and you're trying to score it for him, you cannot give him more than 4 rounds, okay? Now, I'm going to call out a few people on this particular video. People that I actually respect. People that are respected journalists and things like that. Fighters, pro fighters. One of them a legendary fighter. I'm going to call them out. Because until we start talking about what's going on in this sport, we're never going to progress. Now, I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that these people are corrupt or anything like that. Like I said, I'm a fan of theirs. But there's clearly some sort of bias going on here. In some regard, perhaps they need to rewatch it. Perhaps they were influenced by people around them. I don't know. I'm not questioning anybody's integrity. But what we saw was just a complete domination. For 9 rounds, Tyson Fury put in the sort of performance that goes down in history as some of the greatest heavyweight displays, in my opinion. Okay? He looked sensational. Let's put this into perspective, shall we? Muhammad Ali, one of the all-time greats, many people's best heavyweight of all time. He was 6'3", same sort of size as Callum Smith. Okay, so tall, but you can see athletic guys who are 6'3", who are capable of getting on their toes and dancing around the ring. Tyson Fury is 6'9". He's 3 stone heavier than Muhammad Ali would have been. To move around the ring the way he was moving after such a long layoff is incredible, particularly when you consider, why did I bring up Ali? Ali was out for 3 years himself. When he came back, he was only 28 years old, younger than Fury is now. He didn't abuse his body. He didn't put cocaine into his body and endless amounts of alcohol. He didn't blow up to 100 pounds overweight. 100 pounds. You're talking about from here going to just astronomical levels of weight. That didn't happen with Muhammad Ali. He stayed healthy. He stayed in shape as best as you can, but still out of the ring in activity, he was never the same again. That's Muhammad Ali, who was never the same again. Imagine Muhammad Ali had put on all that weight, abused his body with alcohol and drugs, and then come back and put in a performance like that, the way Tyson Fury did last night against an undefeated WBC champion who's one of the biggest punchers of all time, who's fast in the way he moves around the ring. It's incredible. Because with all due respect to guys like George Foreman, and George Foreman is one of the guys who I said I'm going to call out. He scored the fight to Deontay Wilder. I don't know what fight he was watching. George Foreman was arguing, and listen, George Foreman was a great fighter. I've got a soft spot for George Foreman. I think he's brilliant. But when he's talking about fight, he said that Showtime shouldn't be indoctrinating people, like they were trying to manipulate people. And he was saying it was Wilder walking forward. So what? This isn't called walking forward sport. This is called boxing. Same thing we heard with Canelo in the Mexican style. Coming forward does not win you the fight, okay? The ring is the size it is for a specific reason. Otherwise, do you remember they did that BKB thing where you had this little circle on the floor and you couldn't get out of the circle? And it was like, I don't know, 5 feet around or whatever. And you're having a bit like a tear up. That's all right. Go and watch that. That's your sport. The ring is the size it is for a reason. You're allowed to use the entire ring. A normal ring is 24 foot. This one was 20 foot. Okay? Because they wanted to stunt Tyson Fury's ability to move. And I put up a poll on the at BetBoxing page on Twitter asking, and the vast majority of people feel that there should be a uniform size ring to stop this sort of thing. To stop saying, okay, this particular ring will make it smaller for the puncher, this particular ring will make it bigger for the mover, depending on who the promoted fighter is. Have one uniform size ring. Okay, so they tried those antics, and Fury still looks sensational moving around that ring. Jabbing on his toes, punching as he's moving. Not moving around, pumping a jab, stop him, hitting a jab. As he's punching, he's moving out of the center line off the front foot, pivoting as he's hitting. It's superb. Strong feints, heavy feints, light feints. It was just brilliant, man. It was, in those 9 rounds, he looked sensational, switching up angles. When Wilder was to land a shot, he'd come straight back at him and land shots of his own. His upper body movement was just something special to behold. Deontay Wilder's throwing these big right hands, looking to decapitate him, and he's missing by inches consistently. Tyson Fury looked exceptional. It was one of the all-time great performances for those 9 rounds. Now, in another round early in the fight, I can't remember which one it was off the top of my head. I've got it written down somewhere. I think it was round 4, but don't hold me to that. I had that scored to Wilder. I felt he outworked Fury, but it was a tight round. The only other 2 rounds he won were the 2 knockdown rounds. Now, the first knockdown, he got caught, and he actually got up and hurt Wilder. But I'm not one of those people that says, oh, if you finish the round strongly, you deserve it maybe to be a 10-9. If you went down, unless you dropped the other guy too, it's a 10-8 round. That's how I score. I don't believe in all this, oh yeah, but he came back and hurt the guy, because there has to be a reward for staying on your feet. Okay? So, 10-8, no problems with those. He didn't win another round. At one point, Ben Davison for me, before I get to that point, I'm going to say this one thing. Ben Davison, for me, has proved himself to be a world-class trainer. Yeah, that's right. I said it, world-class. And I'll tell you why. Because when you have 2 fighters who are technically and tactically astute, like Billy Joe Saunders and Tyson Fury, and they're both telling you this guy's a real deal. These aren't just punchers who don't really understand the nuances of boxing, but they've got certain physical attributes, and they're raving about him, and they don't really know what it's like to train with other top trainers and stuff like that. These are guys that understand the technical and tactical sport, and they're saying this guy's the real deal. And that's reinforced with Tyson Fury putting in that sort of display. And it's not all Tyson, because of the great advice he was getting in the corner, which we'll come to in a second, and the fact that technically there were slight changes to what Fury was doing. His right hand was a lot straighter. Ben Davison has proved himself to me as being an immense trainer. And in between rounds, one of the reasons I loved what he did, Ben Davison, while I was watching the fight, there was one point that Fury threw a combination early in the fight, 4th round, 5th round, threw a combination, and Wilder went back onto the ropes. And Fury was going to follow him, and someone shouted, "Jump on him!" And I was like, no. Like, I was thinking to myself, no, because I knew if he'd hurt Wilder, jump on Wilder. If he hadn't hurt Wilder, maintain your range. He could be playing possum. He's trying to lure you in. So Fury goes back to the corner. Ben Davison says to him, you know what he's trying to do, right? He's trying to lure you in onto that right hand. Don't fall for the bait. And that made me think, wow, he's picking up on certain little, not just what Tyson's doing well, what Wilder's trying to do, and what he's doing well and what he's not doing well too. Complete understanding of what's going on in the ring. And either side of him, he's got the pressure of having 2 trainers who have trained world-class fighters. Ricky Hatton himself has been a world champion himself. And then Freddie Roach, a legendary trainer. And all eyes are on this 25-year-old. And people are thinking, oh, I wonder what he's going to say. He knows he's got all eyes on him. The camera is on him. People are listening to him. What's he saying? And he stays so calm in the way he delivers it, the instructions. He's checking up on Fury. He's looking at him intently. Are you all right? At one point, he asked him, are you listening? Making sure he's got his attention. Just a brilliant, brilliant display. There was another point. Tyson Fury at one point was moving a bit too much. So what would happen, just like we said in our preview video, after the first phase of attack, Deontay Wilder's construct breaks. His feet, that back foot comes forward and he squares himself up. And so his construct changes and he's ripe for being countered at that moment. He has to miss that first phase attack. And then he starts to throw wildly. He found that Fury. Now, there were points where Fury would just be ducking and diving and then would pivot out and get away or jab him his way out. Later in the fight, he would start to land a few more hooks and short right hands and hold him. But there were moments where the first phase attack would come, he'd throw 1 or 2 punches, Fury would slip both, then another 2 punches and Fury would slip again, and then he'd either grab or counter and grab. So he'd let Wilder throw 4 punches, sometimes 5, before he engages. That was too much. And I was thinking to myself, he could get clipped. And he ended up getting clipped like that in the first knockdown. He was doing too much movement. What does Ben Davison say? Okay, so I'm thinking this, and I've said it to the person I'm with, a minute before the end of the round. Ben Davison turns around and says to him, you're making him look too silly. That was good, but you're making him look too silly. Come down, step forward with a shoulder to close that range, and then tie him up. That's exactly what I told the person I was with that he should be doing. It's different when I'm sitting at home and I've got all these great angles from TV, and I'm watching it clearly and I'm analysing intently. He's on the sideline, under pressure, 2 trainers around him who are obviously trying to probably get their words in as well. You've got the crowd roaring, the pressure of what's going on, and he's able to keep his calm like that and spot not just what Wilder's doing well and not doing well, but what he's trying to do and what Fury should be doing. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, Ben Davison. And as far as I'm concerned, listen, every great trainer starts somewhere, right? Ben Davison has established himself, in my opinion. And I might just do a video dedicated to Ben Davison soon and just discuss a little bit more about this guy and his character and his technical excellence, because he really is brilliant. But the point is, Tyson Fury in those 9 rounds looked sensational. Now, Deontay Wilder's a great fighter. Okay, he showed great heart. determination, athleticism, stamina. That right hand is monstrous. But he lost the fight. And instead of us sitting here praising him and saying, look, Deontay Wilder's a great champion, blah, 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 we're sitting here and we're almost holding it against, not him per se, but it stigmatizes him. It's kind of like when Evander Holyfield is often stigmatized still with that draw against Lennox Lewis. The other day, they introduced him ahead of the weigh-in, and they were saying, a great fighter who beat Riddick Bowe, beat Mike Tyson, drew with Lennox Lewis. And when he said drew with Lennox Lewis, I looked at the room I was in, and people just sort of glanced at each other, looked at each other. And the same thing happened with the pundits. There was like this silence, and Lennox was there too, and he's just like staring and thinking, yeah, right, as if that was a draw. And it follows you around, and it taints your legacy. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't suit Deontay Wilder to be giving him these gifts. He lost the fight. He gave a great account of himself. He's a warrior. Tyson Fury got up like he was the Undertaker. He was a second or two away from losing the fight. Great from Deontay Wilder. Great performance. But he didn't win that fight. Now, Tyson Fury, in many respects, has improved. Like I said, from a technical perspective, for me, there were certain punches he was throwing more technically correct while maintaining the artistry. We spoke about the science versus the art in the preview video. But there were some issues with stamina. I felt that as the fight wore on, he was a little bit, he slowed down a little bit with his upper body movement more than anything. He wasn't jerking as quickly. But hopefully that will come. I think he's a terrific fighter. In a rematch, boxers usually beat punchers. But this is different in the sense that, unlike other examples like this, Deontay Wilder's a really dangerous puncher. When Floyd beat Maidana by a wider margin after the first fight, you expected Floyd to do it by a wider margin. Maidana's a puncher, but he's not one of those guys that touches you and puts you to sleep. Same with Floyd and same with Lennox and Holyfield. Lennox Lewis took control of the rematch, but Holyfield didn't have that same level of threat. So it's different. We might end up seeing a scenario where Tyson Fury improves even more, schools Deontay Wilder for 11 and a half rounds, then gets clipped, gets beaten, and everyone's going to say, oh, yeah, you see, look, Wilder won the fight by knockout, and people forget the first fight. Now, let's talk about when I said I'm going to call a few people out. Lennox Lewis, firstly, fantastic. He's tweeted, I saw Tyson Fury come back from drugs, depression, 2 years of inactivity, and a massive weight loss to outbox WBC champion. Who was gifted a draw. In a rematch, I can only imagine that he will be even better prepared. The judging takes me back to my first fight with Holyfield. Just goes to show how hard it is for a Brit to come to America and take someone's belt, even though that's clearly what we saw. Big up to Tyson Fury, who never ceases to amaze me. Hold your head up high. Now, it's all great to hear Lennox Lewis say he never ceases to amaze me. Mike Tyson's praised him. Caleb Truax. All these great fighters, top fighters, world-class fighters, active, high-level fighters from today and world-class fighters from the past have all scored it to Fury, except for, like I said, George Foreman, which is baffling because boxing's not just about walking forward. But here's the thing, right? There are a couple of people who I really respect and I like I said, but I have to call this out. Douglas Fisher, brilliant journalist. I love his work. I read his stuff. He's a journalist for Ring Magazine. He's always brave. He always speaks his mind. But he came out and said something along the lines of he could see a scenario whereby, in fact, let me read you the tweet exactly. I'm good with the split draw verdict. And I just said, Douglas, I love your work, but please just don't. And he's saying, I'm just saying, in my view, with the 2 knockdowns, it was legitimately close. Now, I've been asking people, Adam Abramovitz as well as another one, who came out and said, before we get to that, I've been asking people for their cards. Don't just tell me it was legitimately close. If you feel, I think Douglas Fisher said somewhere else that, I can't find it right now. Maybe it wasn't Douglas Fisher. Maybe it was Adam Abramovitz. Another journalist basically came out and said, I could give 3 rounds additionally to the 2 knockdowns to Deontay Wilder. And I was like, which 3 rounds? And he was saying it was a really close fight. But what do you mean? Like, name me your rounds. Don't just say it's a close fight. Because you can't. You can't name another 3 rounds additionally. You can't name me 5 rounds that Deontay Wilder won. You can't. It's ridiculous. Now, we're in a situation where you got a guy like Adam Abramovitz. Like I said, I like him. I respect his stuff. But he comes out and he says something along the lines of, Jack Reiss gave, the referee gave Tyson Fury the chance to get up. After the count of 10, he gave him the chance to get up. Would Wilder have been afforded the same treatment in the United Kingdom? Listen, Jack Reiss, I've been saying this for years now, is the best referee in boxing. Bar none. He's the best. And he showed it again yesterday. He let them fight on the inside. He was firm. When Tyson Fury went down, he counted to 10. Okay, so he gave him the opportunity. He didn't reach 10, but he gave him the opportunity to get up. He didn't just wave off the fight. Then when Tyson got up, he asked him to walk and come back. If Tyson was all over the place, he would have stopped the fight because he wanted to ensure that Tyson wasn't in danger. Brilliant referee. Brilliant referee. But he did his job. That's all he did. He did his job. So what you say, you can't gloat and say, would he have been afforded the same treatment in the United Kingdom? You can't gloat about the fact that the referee did his job when Tyson Fury was robbed. How ironic is that? See, we did you a favor, Tyson. We actually enforced the rules and gave you to the count of 10 to stand up. But, we gave the other guy a 4 or 5 round head start. It's ludicrous, man. It's crazy. Barry Hearn, Eddie's dad, the promoters of Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury is the sort of guy that rips AJ all the time. He ripped him yesterday after the fight. He came out and he said, I'm glad we didn't take the 50 million. 50 million for what? To be robbed by judges? And instead of people saying, yeah, Barry's right, people have come out and said, so there's an admittance that the 50 million was available. Why are people focusing on that stuff now? It's completely different discussion. They could have offered him 60, 70 million. If I'm AJ's promoter, I'm advising him not to fight in the United States in case they rob him. You're the cash cow. Fight in the UK. That's what I'd be saying if I was AJ's promoter. Because, yeah, you're going to make 50, 60 million. It might be more than you'd make off of a one-off fight with Wilder. But if they're going to rob you and you're no longer a cash cow, the flow ends there. Whereas if you win the fight and you earn 30 million rather than 50 on home territory, you can then have another fight, make another amount of money and keep making that money. So even from a financial perspective, if there's a possibility that you're going to get robbed, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't take that fight. Now, Tyson Fury was in a jovial mood because obviously he's been through a lot. So in his mind, he's sitting there and he's saying, look, I've been through a lot worse. No point in crying over spilt milk. I won the fight. People can see I won the fight. But Tyson Fury's in that mode mentally. But from the outside perspective, when you're Ben Davison, for instance, and you're fans, you've got to be furious. Ben Davison came out and he made a fantastic point. He said, an American guy who, I didn't hear who he works for, but I'm not sure if he's at the WBC or Showtime, came up to him in the ring afterwards and said to him, never mind, it was a draw, so he's going to get another shot. And Ben Davison said, never mind. This is the sort of thing that's the problem with boxing. They've just taken away this man's ability to achieve one of the greatest comebacks in sporting history or in boxing history. They've taken it away from him, and never mind. And he's right, because it's not all about the finances. Yeah, he made $8 million apparently dollars from revenue, after revenue and stuff, 3 million beforehand, straight split. And he might make that again. He might make more. He might make 10. He might make 12. But this is legacy that he's also worried about. He's already a rich man. You can't be taking that away from him. It's ludicrous, guys. And we've got to continue to call this out in boxing and not let people in positions of authority who may be friends with specific fighters or promoters or whatever make claims to basically deduct the disgust that is involved with these decisions. Only Paulie Malignaggi is honest when it comes to these sorts of things, it seems to me. Barry Jones is too, by the way. Barry Jones is too. Anyway, moving on from that, I will say this. Tyson Fury is an incredible talent. And Ben Davison is a fantastic trainer. And what we've seen was incredible from every regard, because Tyson Fury showed the ability to box. He showed the ability to fight on the inside when he was hurt. We saw the ability to box orthodox today. He didn't turn southpaw, which ultimately I found to be a good idea. Additionally to that, we saw an incredible heart. And I got a couple of thumbs down without an explanation in the video prior to the preview video where I'm talking about Tyson Fury's faith. And I did tell you guys in that video, don't judge whether you believe in God or not. That's irrelevant. That's not why I'm asking you. I'm basically talking to you about the effects it has on his mentality to have that mental strength. And when he sat up after being knocked down so heavily, and people are joking, it was like The Undertaker, they asked him, what happened? How did he get up? And what did he say in the post-fight press conference? He said, I don't know. I think I had a holy hand on me. He's talking about God helping him up. He said, in another point, he said, I got up in the name of Jesus or something along those lines. Ben Davison was asked, what made him get up? He just pointed to the heavens. And Steve Blunt said, the man upstairs? And he nodded. Okay, that faith in Tyson Fury. Now, whether you believe, if you're a religious man and you're watching this video, you're going to think to yourself, you know what? He spent all that time praising God, and that was his reward. God was there for him when he needed him. Those of you who are not religious, though, cannot deny the fact. Because I'm not trying to convince you of anything. Whether you believe, I believe, Tyson believes, whoever, it's irrelevant. We are discussing the effects of Tyson Fury's mentality in that video. And he dragged himself up with the belief that something divine helped him, that God helped him. Someone divine pulled him up. And that's what I'm talking about, the mental strength when it came to his faith. When I was talking to you about the adversities he'd faced, and it would have been easy for him to apologize for making a controversial statement regarding sin according to his faith. It would have been easy. He didn't do that. He stuck with it, and he suffered as a result. There was a witch hunt in the press as a result of his religious beliefs. And he stuck by those religious beliefs, which tells you how faithful he is. And then look at when he needs it most, how he pulled it out. Incredible. Honestly, it was a fight for the ages, a performance for the ages, in my opinion. And, it leaves questions now about where they go from here, by the way. If you're Tyson Fury, do you rematch Deontay Wilder? You might lose by knockout. If you don't, people will always know you won, but officially, it won't be on your record. Then again, you might take the rematch and, like I said, they'll rob you again. Look at Canelo Golovkin. Do you take the risk and try and set the record straight officially? Do you ensure that the fight's in the UK? Who knows? Whatever the case may be, we have to start seeing disciplinary action against these sorts of judges. Okay, especially the Mexican judge, abysmal. The British judge was terrible too, but the Mexican judge was abysmal. But what do you do if you're Tyson Fury? Maybe you go straight after AJ. Because then if you beat AJ, and people know deep down that you beat Wilder, you're the king. Maybe you do that, or maybe you let Wilder fight AJ. You have a little another tune-up to get fit, and then you have a unification fight against the winner. Whatever the case may be, how do you approach this if you're Tyson Fury, and how do you approach this if you're Deontay Wilder? If you're Wilder, do you have to give Fury a rematch, knowing that people will always know you lost the fight otherwise? Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you scored the fight. I don't want to hear, it was a close fight, I had it a draw. I want to know what rounds you had it if you had it a draw. I want a breakdown, okay? Don't just tell me you had it a draw. Tell me which rounds you gave to Deontay Wilder. Because just like I've had a disagreement with Abramovich before when he said that Jeff Horn lost to Pacquiao. So I sat down and I did a round by round. I asked him which rounds, and he gave me one of the rounds. He lost round, whatever it was. So I did a breakdown of that round, minute by minute. And I explained this is why he lost that round. And I didn't get a response. So the point I'm making is that I'm willing to have a little look and break it down. But I want to know what rounds. Don't just tell me, it was a draw. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Chat to you soon.